We're back here on Tech Tuesday on Northwest Digital News. Harry Brelsford, Kevin Hunter, and Kyle Torgerson here on the broadcast. And Harry, before we get into some of the updates on events that are here on the calendar for May and June, you're going to have to share with people your undisclosed location. You got a new spot you're coming from today.
Yeah, I am in an undisclosed location, but I'll disclose it. But I kind of feel like I'm at I'm at my sister's house in North Seattle, just the way the schedule's aligned today. But more importantly, I kind of feel like I'm living on the set of HBO Silicon Valley, right? Like I'm in a hacker house, and this is truly what it looks like in the Seattle area, right, where the cyber hackers and whatnot are sitting in rooms with broken blinds, and so we're keeping it real. We're keeping it real here on Tech Tuesday.
There you go. Well, kicking off here in early May, May 2nd, is the Channel Pro SMB Forum that's coming up in the Windy City of Chicago. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so this is, we've talked about Channel Pro in the past. They're a publisher, and I think what's important, again, I always like to reiterate this, in the technology sector, unlike pharmaceuticals, unlike industries I'm sure you've been in, Kevin, but in tech, we actually cooperate and compete, right? And so Channel Pro is a friend of the family. I'm sure you could find overlap if you looked hard enough, but they do some shows that we don't do. And here's what I mean. The show in Chicago on May 2nd, if anyone's listening, reach out to us and get some free tickets for you. That's fine. But Channel Pro is a reseller show, and there's knowledge for even people that are maybe on the periphery of technology in terms of margin, markup, standard procedures, pricing, that kind of thing. Versus if someone had the occasion, and I think this fall we're going to have some SMB Nation road shows again, but we're going to be much more technical. Like 2 weeks ago when I came to you from Fortinet Accelerate in Orlando, as you'll recall, that was a technical conference on security, and so it's a big ocean. There's room for everybody. So what Channel Pro does on May 2nd is they're bringing together business lectures from the tech sector, from people who want to be a service provider. More importantly, in my mind's eye, is they probably have the best food in the industry. So when they have lunch, in the trade show hall, it's hot buffet. And gentlemen, let me tell you, having done a lot of events, the per head, right, of a hot buffet at a hotel, that's very expensive.
So they're not just Channel Pro, but they're buffet pros too.
Yeah, there you go. But that's their reputation. They have the best food in the industry, lots of prizes at the end. And again, if someone is listening that will be in the Chicago area, reach out to Northwest Digital News. Let me know. I can certainly get a handful of free tickets.
Perfect. So that's for all the integrators, managed service providers, and any IT consultants should consider Channel Pro. May 2nd in the Windy City of Chicago. Well, let's move to Orlando, Florida. This is on the 13th through the 15th of May. Lenovo Accelerate is happening.
Yeah, so this is a show I've been to for probably a decade, and it's very interesting. I mean, of course, it's Lenovo making their annual pitch to partners and customers. And I mean, that's pretty straightforward. But what's interesting about it is Lenovo has what we call original equipment manufacturers, or OEMs. So an OEM would be like Dell or Acer. They have really had to dig deep to reinvent themselves to stay relevant because, for example, I'm using a Lenovo laptop right now, thank you, and I like it. But I would offer this $800 laptop. I bet by the time it got to the bottom line, I bet Lenovo made $8 off this laptop, right? By the time it all dropped down. And that does not a rich man make. And so what Lenovo is trying to do is they bought the IBM server line a few years ago. And so they have data storage and data center. That's new for them. Because again, we all think about Lenovo as laptops, quite frankly. And then the other thing is, and I've showed it before, but my Moto Z phone is from Lenovo. Lenovo bought the Motorola phone company or line of work. And what I'm really excited about at this show is Lenovo has developed a module. It snaps on the back of the phone right there where you see the pinouts.
Yes.
It's going to snap on, and it's 5G. So they have a 5G module that is interesting to me because I like to be out in front of the curve. Here's the problem, gentlemen, is that very few cities actually have implemented 5G, and Seattle, unfortunately, is not one of them yet.
Coming soon, though, I hear. Coming soon.
Yeah, coming soon, and I want to get ahead of the curve. And so that's the Lenovo thing. And then finally on the Lenovo show, it's at the Swan and Dolphin in Orlando. That's a gorgeous hotel. It can take a licking and keep on ticking. And they are going to have their Lenovo semi-truck again out in the parking lot. So that's a traveling road show for Lenovo partners. You can call Lenovo and say, hey, I'm doing a lunch and learn, or I'm doing a 2-day event. Can I schedule the semi-truck to come sit in the parking lot at, say, innovation lab, learning lab, that kind of thing. So now you know what I know. And Kevin, on the next one, I don't. Well, first of all, introduce the next one, and then look at those dates, because the question is, how can Harry be at 2 shows at once?
Yes. So this is also on the 13th through the 15th, the Sage Summit. We had 450 miles north to Atlanta.
So there's not 2 of me. Okay,
yes.
So that's problematic. But we have an editor that worked on the book the forthcoming book I told you about. We'll talk about another day. But Mia Kate Kennedy out of Spokane, Washington, had availability to go to the Sage show in Atlanta, and that's right down by the Olympic Park and the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, right downtown. And what's interesting, and your audience can actually, I think, really relate to this, is that the Sage show is relevant for Sage bookkeepers, Sage accountants. And for those of you that don't know, Sage is a very popular accounting package out of the UK, out of Europe, that came to America, and they compete robustly with QuickBooks. I'm not going to kid you, they're not bigger than QuickBooks, but they compete, especially overseas. And so, Kevin, what could be interesting is with your listenership, the business listener, if you're using Sage, not only are you eligible to go to the show, but you would be welcome to go to the show. And that's a different conference for me to go to, or in this case, Mia Kate Kennedy, to cover. We almost call that a customer-facing show.
Sure.
A little bit different for us.
Well, let's head out west to San Diego, California. June 17th through the 19th is the DattoCon event that's coming up. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so DattoCon is primarily focused on backup and disaster recovery. Datto is a company that provides the infrastructure to protect your data. And trust me, they have analytics, they have statistics, they have information about, 1 hour of downtime in a small business can be a couple $100 per hour of downtime. So they mitigate that with their solution set. They charge for that, right? You're essentially, you can almost think of it as you're buying insurance. Now, where it's a little more interesting is Datto has made a couple of industry acquisitions, so they're not just a backup company. And then last year they were in Austin, Texas, the year before that in Denver. So for whatever reason, they kind of go to, with all due respect to the citizens listening to the show, but they kind of go to secondary cities, right? You don't really see DattoCon in New York or Chicago or LA.
Yes.
They're just one off, but they pick fun cities, right? San Diego in mid-June, that's very pleasant after the morning fog, the June gloom morning fog burns off about lunch. It can be a very nice afternoon.
I think the residents of San Diego would argue that the weather is beautiful almost 365 days a year there. That is, I have been to San Diego many times. I have never been there on a bad weather day yet.
I've never been there.
So I guess Kyle's never been to San Diego on a bad weather day either.
Yeah,
That's two of us.
Kev, well, no, that's a valid point. What's interesting, like much of California, is the morning can have that coastal layer of mist and fog, which is good for wine and grapes and all that. But, Kevin, if you just drive 10 miles inland, it's 10 to 20 degrees warmer and sunny, right? Mm-hmm. It's just, but that coastal effect in the morning, it is what it is. But to your point, every day is nice. I mean, they fancy themselves as saying they're living the dream.
Well, here's where you have to be two people at once again, because June 14th through the 18th is also Microsoft Inspire, and that's coming up in Las Vegas, another city with beautiful weather.
Yeah. Well, with all due respect, I have a safety on that one. That's actually July 14th. So a little
July
bit of
14th. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of a no offense.
Oh,
but a little bit of a safety.
Right. You're right.
So what this is, we've talked about it on this show. If you live and breathe in the Microsoft ecosystem, this show is a must-do. Now, it's a must-do, and I don't especially care for Las Vegas in July. In the past, when they've held it in Washington D.C. in July, that's a little better because that's a hell of a town. I'm a little bit jaded on Las Vegas, especially in July with the heat. But what they've done is they have made this show both a partner show, which is my audience, the Microsoft partner, but a customer element called Microsoft Ready. So the show has gone from 15,000 people to 30,000 people over 5 days. And that's my second point is it's a heck of a commitment. I'll be there. Okay, let's establish the facts. I'll be there. I've been going for 10, 15 years. But most shows in my industry are 2 days, maybe 2.5 days. I got to tell you, a Monday through Friday commitment, because it means you flew in on Sunday, it means you're flying out Friday, Saturday. That's a 5-6 day commitment. Boy, howdy, that's a big chunk. That's a week out of my year, man. But you got to hand it to Microsoft. In fact, and maybe Kyle, you could fact check on your screen. I didn't check today. I know the market's hit new highs. The NASDAQ, let me see if I can bring up Microsoft. It should be right around a new high. I'm looking on screen number 2, forgive me. But they were like at $124 per share, which is right up around their high. And then the market's hit highs. And the reason I share this is if you live and breathe, let me back up. Let me give an analogy from your time in the automobile industry.
Sure.
If you had a Ford dealership, would it behoove you to go to your industry show with the white tints in Detroit to see the new Ford models? And you would have to tell me, what is your industry show? But if you own a Ford dealership, you for darn sure better go to their annual convention, right?
Oh, without any doubt, yes. Without any doubt.
And once when I was in Detroit, Kevin, driving around at one of the car HQ, but they had the white tint set up, right? I mean, that's what they do. They bring people in. So,
well, to your point earlier about the stock, just read the all-time high Microsoft stock price is $125.44. That happened April 23rd, 2019. So, yeah, that was just there you go.
Just today. I knew, I knew we were close. And what, a little humor, but what that translates into in Seattle is the restaurants are going to be full tonight. The Tesla dealer is probably going to get one or more new customers walking into the showroom to look at a new car, right? That's how it plays out.
Yes.
But back to serious business. the way I framed up the Microsoft relationship, I mean, I can go on for hours. I'm comfortable saying it's definitely a family, and everybody has a family, and that's good and bad, especially around Thanksgiving dinner. So it's definitely a family. And however, if you think of your Microsoft consultancy as a dealership, so you're a Microsoft dealer, you have to go to this annual convention to see the roadmap, look at the new models, hear the good stuff, get the inside secret, inside scoop. That's why this show's relevant.
All right, there you have it. So those are the events coming up between May and, of course, then mid-July. Well, thanks for all the great updates, Harry, and we're looking forward to some great guests that will be joining us here with Harry in the weeks ahead here on Northwest Digital News. Thanks to everybody who joined us here on Tech Tuesday. Great information from Harry Brelsford. As always, Kevin Hunter and Kyle Torgerson here at the broadcast desk. Thanks everyone who joined us. This concludes today's live programming on Northwest Digital News. Thanks for joining us for this special broadcast. Heard around the world in more than 70 countries on YouTube, Instagram, Patreon, Facebook, and Twitch TV. If you enjoyed a story or guest we had here on Northwest Digital News and would like to strut your stuff on the broadcast, email us today at wainfo2017@gmail.com or call or text 360-545-3501. We're always interested in unique stories, topics, and guests to share with our worldwide audience. Before you go, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up and comment on the live stream. And for those of you who'd like to financially support the broadcast, you can do so at patreon.com/Northwest Digital News. We thank you for your patronage. On behalf of Chris Bornstead, Kyle Torgerson, Stephanie Hunter, and all the people that made this broadcast possible, I'm Kevin Hunter. Till next time, take care.